Hey guys, it's Jessica Hayes. I'm not going to do any fancy kind of intro today because we're just doing a very simple tutorial. This is going to be my everyday makeup with all cruelty-free and vegan stuff. So if you want to learn a quick and easy, simple look to do, then keep watching. I still did it. I still did an intro. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is this Supergoop 100% Mineral Matte SPF 40 sunscreen. I have already moisturized my face about 20 minutes ago, let it soak in. The reason why I'm using this sunscreen right now is because I did start using the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder foundation and it's a little more of a dewy consistency. I did use the Supergoop City Serum, which is a little more moisturizing. So I've switched over to this foundation because you can see when it goes on, it's more of a matte consistency and it almost has that like blurring technology like those optical illusion primers. So this keeps it a little more matte so that my dewy foundation isn't too oily by the end of the day. It is winter out right now, but I always use SPF underneath my foundation. So I am going to be using the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder foundation. This is in the shade Too Fair. I just kind of squirt a little bit over my Kat Von D foundation edge brush, and I'm just going to pat that into the center of the face and just kind of spread it out where needed. I've been really loving this foundation. It's taken me quite a while to be able to find more of a sheer foundation that matches my skin tone and isn't too dry or greasy or break me out, and this is the one. So I'm pretty stoked that I've found this. Next, I'm going to take the Milk Flex Concealer. This is in the shade Creme. I also have the shade Porcelain and I have the shade Fair as well. Fair is pretty much the exact same color as my skin. Creme is a little bit, I'd say, one shade lighter, and then Porcelain is for that super highlighted look underneath the eyes, which I've kind of been steering away from lately. And because this is an everyday makeup and I like to do things as quickly and easily as possible, I'm just going to take my foundation brush, the Kat Von D Locket Edge brush. I love that it has this flat edge because you can get up there and kind of get your concealer right underneath your lash line. And then I'm just gonna dab a little bit of that on the top of the lid as well. You can obviously use either your finger or a concealer brush for this, but I mean the brush is already there. So for eyeshadow, I generally stick to more of a medium warmish brown for this kind of look. I am going to be using this one from the Sourcebox Etude palette today. There are so many different colors you could use for this. I feel like almost every palette has this kind of color. A lot of the time I'll use this from the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye palette. If you want something a little warmer, a little more yellowy toned, Zwicky from the Linda Hallberg Infinity palette is great. For something a little more orangey, this color right here from the Lime Crime XL palette is a good one as well. This is on my Furless Pro 8E brush, and I'm just building that brush up, and I'm going to start by patting it onto the lid, and I'm going to use almost downward motions because I don't want this color build to get too high up yet. I'm only taking it just right to the crease right now. And the reason why I'm using patting motions is because I'm trying to build color rather than blend color. So if you're building color, always use a patting motion. This will help get the color on quickly, more evenly, and it will also stop from fallout. So patting that all over, I'm just going to grab the tip of that brush and a little bit of that color and sweep that color underneath the lower lash line. I like my lower lash line to be super duper diffused. I know that that isn't a look that everyone loves, so if you want it to be a little tighter, then just use a smaller brush for this. Next, I'm going to take this giant cheating big fluffy blending brush from Cosette. This is the 165. I'm going to grab a tiny bit, just a tiny bit of color on the very tip of that brush. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to shove it right into the crease in between my eyeball and my brow bone. And I'm going to use that crease and let that brush do the work for me. And I'm just going to use that back and forth motion, that little bit of color on the brush, and let the brush do the work. So grabbing a little bit of color on the tip of that brush, shove it right in there, that socket, and just blend back and forth. I'm really not doing any work right now. I could pretty much just be doing this, not even looking at it, because you're just letting that crease and the brush do the work for you. I'm going to grab the tiniest bit again on that brush and just make sure underneath is nice and buffed in. This is why I love that brush, because it's got that nice little tip on it, but it's got that fullness around. So you can get precise placement with the brush, but you can also get a nice blend out of it as well. When there's definitely not a lot left on the brush, you can kind of sweep it right up underneath the brow bone just to make sure everything's nice and blended. I'm just going to use that little precise tip just to make sure the corner is nice and blended. To me, this makeup is never like a perfect makeup. It's almost something like, at least I tried. I'm not going to be doing some fancy cut crease for work every day, and most of the time I don't even bother with liquid eyeliner. So this is just like, it looks like you've done something, you've put in some effort, but it's actually really easy and really soft as well. So I'm just using my e.l.f. eyelash curler. I always use this eyelash curler now. And then I'm going to be applying the Milk Makeup Kush mascara. This has definitely been my favorite mascara for a while now, but it's definitely a tie with Too Faced Better Than Sex. I don't think it's any better or any worse than Too Faced Better Than Sex. My only problem with the two of them is that I cannot wear it on my lower lash line because it's definitely going to transfer. So I always have to wear something different on the lower lash line for mascara. If I've got a little more time on my hands, I can kind of build up that mascara a little bit, but for the most part, just one quick coat of it gets your lashes pretty lengthened and volumized. Next, I'm going to take the Old Faithful for underneath the eyes, and that is the Urban Decay Troublemaker mascara. This is one mascara that I know definitely doesn't smudge underneath my eyes, but when I use it by itself on top, it's a little too natural for me. It's not a terrible mascara, but it just doesn't really give me the volume of the body that I'm used to with the Better Than Sex. All right, next I'm going to take my Nabla Brow Divine in Uranus. I do have my eyebrows microbladed, but I've grown them out a little bit since, so I have just a few little patchy spots underneath that I like to fill in just to give a little more of a crisp line underneath. And this pencil is the perfect color. I do dabble with a lot of different brow products, but this one is dark enough but light enough that you can do a quick job with it, and it's not really a problem if it's not a perfect eyebrow. The other colors that I use are a little bit darker, so if you're not being a perfectionist with it, then you can definitely see if you've done more of a rush job on your makeup. I know I've probably mentioned to you guys before my love for Nabla Cosmetics, and I do apologize because I was under the impression that Nabla was a 100% vegan brand, but I posted about them in my stories the other day, and a few people reached out to me and just let me know that Nabla is not a vegan brand. They have one product that's not vegan, and that's their mascara that contains beeswax. But I was always under the impression that they were a vegan brand because on their Instagram it does say in the bio vegan and cruelty free. So I apologize if I have misled anyone with saying that Nabla was a 100% vegan brand. I was always under the assumption that they were, but they do have one product that isn't vegan. To me, I'm kind of a little bit peeved that they do write vegan and cruelty free in the bio, and I did reach out to them suggesting that maybe they should write vegan friendly and cruelty free. So I'm not really sure where I stand with that. I'm really stoked that the brand does carry so many vegan and cruelty free products, but at the same point, not taking that label seriously annoys me a little bit. So let me know in the comments below what you think about that situation. Anyways, now I'm going to take the Lime Creme Bushy Brow, and this is in the color Smoky, another great color. It's a dark but cool undertone brown, and I'm just going to brush through the brows and just kind of brush them up a little bit. Sometimes if I don't have time for pencil, what I'll do is just get this thin little tip and just kind of smush it into those areas where I do have little gaps. Just as a quick little fix. But I do love more of that bushy eyebrow look, so I do like to brush them up just a little bit. Next, I'm going to go back to that palette, and I'm going to take this color right here, which is more of a cool light to medium undertone brown. It's a great contour color that's cool for pale skin tones, and I'm going to use my double-ended Kat Von D brush to pop that on just a little bit underneath the cheekbone. So this is also another color that's in a lot of palettes. There is a really similar color in the Shade and Light eye palette. There's this color here, Cigar, from the Linda Hallberg Infinity palette as well. There we go, a little bit of contour. Oh, it looks really crazy on the camera monitor. Next, I'm going to take this blush, which I have been loving this color. It's a really good neutral, warmish, kind of just a flush kind of blush. This was my replacement for the Marc Jacobs Flesh and Fantasy blush that I loved for so long. So I'm just going to pop a little bit onto the apples of the cheeks and blend it back into the contour. I don't always use blush, but sometimes it's nice, especially if you feel like your contour's finishing a little bit sharply. You can easily just blend a little bit of blush into it, and then it gives it a little bit of a fresh look, but it also makes that contour blend a little more seamlessly into the skin as well. Now for highlighters, there are so many that I love, but one that I always go back to is the Ofra highlighter in Blissful. I'm just going to use it just very softly on the edge of this brush that I use for contouring, and I'm going to use it just a little lower down here, and just a small amount. I'm going to blend that back and forth kind of onto the mid-plane and the tops of the cheekbones. I am going to be staying far away from underneath this eye area where I get a little bit of fine lines, because I don't want to highlight that area, because highlighter highlights things and I don't want it or need it to highlight the fine lines under there. Then I like to go back in with my foundation brush and just press along those little areas where you may have fine lines, just to make sure that there's nothing settling in there and highlighting those things that I don't want to see. So with this look, the reason why I really do gravitate towards this or love wearing this is because you can literally wear any single lip shade with this. You could wear a nude lip, you could wear a purple lip, you could wear a red lip. It looks great with a black lip as well. I'm going to start off with just using this little nudie one that I've been wearing a bit lately. This is the C.R.E.A.M from Milk. And this has a really nice consistency. It's kind of a satiny matte, so it's not too drying, but it's not gonna come off the minute that you try to drink or eat. One thing that I always, for some unbeknown reason, wait to the end is doing my setting powder. So I'm just going to take the Milk Makeup Blur and Set powder and this Wet n Wild brush, and I just tap that through the center of the face, anywhere where I might get a little bit shiny, or this is really good for covering pores. So I just pop that through the center of the face just to smooth out the complexion a little bit. So that is my everyday look with a nude lip. I'm going to pop on a darker red lip so that you can see how versatile this look is as well. I'm going to be taking the new color from Necromancy. This is Carnal Sin. And this is just like a deep, dark, crimson-y red. I'm just gonna use a little lip brush, a little bit on the tip of this brush just to outline the lip. So there is this look with a red lip as well. I mean, if you wanted to make this a little more fancy, you could stick a few little individual lashes on the edge, and this would be a perfect but easy chic look. I know this is just a simple look, but this is pretty much what I wear almost every day. Like I was saying, there are so many different colors that you can use for this one shade medium brown blend out all over the eye, so you're not just limited to the ones that I've showed you. I'm sure there's a ton of different matte colors that you could use in lots of different palettes that would work just as well. Leave down in the comments below. I would love to know what you wear for an everyday makeup. If you are one of those people that, you know, do liquid liner and lashes and the whole everything every day, or if this look for an everyday look is pretty high maintenance to you and maybe you only use a little bit of brow gel and tinted lip balm and mascara. But yeah, leave down below in the comments what your everyday makeup is. I would love to see what you're up to. Thank you for tuning into my video this week, and I'll see you guys next time.